here we are at the Flumph.
It's I've decided the full name of the ship is the Friendly Flumph, by the way.
Alright, so
We be the pirates of the Friendly Flumph.
some of the sailors hop over the edge of the ship, they roll down and with paint buckets and they paint out the word friendly in ridiculous script.
Comic Sans.
Comic Sans.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Can
I get off the boat now?
High five, McDohl.
High five.
You guys are really hurting my criminal contact cred here.
Oh my god! If you switch to flick and then you hold down shift, you just kind of push things.
Tarin, you've been spending some nights in the alchemy lab, the repurposed necromancer quarters, researching this exotic black pepper that you've picked up. So first of all, go ahead and roll me a DC 20 intelligence check. Just straight.
That's not gonna happen.
No skills or anything apply to this because the nature of this pepper is totally unknown to you.
Oh god, there it goes.
You still use a little bit of a gentle touch.
That's a 15.
That's a 15. Okay, so your first round of experimenting with this absolutely bears no fruit. But it's very late at night, and there's a soft rap at the door.
Enter.
The door opens, and Fila is standing there. And she's wrapped herself in a blanket. She walks in the room and closes the door behind her. And then she shrugs the blanket off of her shoulders, and she's wearing very much of nothing underneath.
Oh.
And she begins walking towards you.
Oh my.
Tarin really has no idea what to do in this situation.
So he just sits there dumbfounded?
Yeah, pretty much.
If that's the case, she eventually gets up to you with outstretched arms and drapes them over your shoulder, pulls you into an embrace, and begins, I believe the kids would call it snogging. She starts to get very amorous with you.
Well,
And before long, she's pulling at the laces of your shirt and your breeches.
Destil's just gonna let it happen.
Yeah, you know what? I actually think that's pretty much what would happen.
There is a bed in here. The bedding was not destroyed.
Yeah.
And she takes the initiative. Like, it's clear that Tarin has no idea what to do anyway, but even if he did, she's very much on top, so to speak.
I feel like Destil might have some more ideas if Brickroot's face was being shown on the screen right now.
So yeah, she takes the initiative of the situation, and suffice it to say, you have a very pleasurable and amorous experience in the Necromancer's quarters. And you fall asleep in her arms. An hour or so before dawn, she gets up out of the bed very quietly, wraps the blanket back around herself, and leaves back to her quarters.
Well, that happened.
And when you wake up the next day, you're not sure if it actually happened or if it was just a pleasant dream. Unfortunately, this has no effect on your subsequent examinations of the black pepper. Adric.
yo.
During the day, a couple hours after mealtime, first of all, let me, you know what I should do, actually, is just open up. I have this giant note sheet from last week with all the NPC character names. I forgot that I put all the character names on the webpage that I put up, so I'll just use that. From the ice turtle dungeon that you conquered last week, you rescued 5 people in addition to Fila. Prince Humberth, and then he had 4 Marines in his service who had survived the Sahagin attack of the Lady Darahild. And they are now aboard your vessel. And they are not members of your crew. So during the day, after the mid-morning meal or so, people have cleared away and started going back. There seems to be an altercation of some kind in the mess as you walk through. One of these 4 Marines from Dunfoss is in a rather tense argument with one of your seamen named Darren, one of the men who just tends to the rigging and whatnot. And you're not sure what the nature of the argument is, just that apparently Tarin has disrespected the house of Humberth or some such rot, and this Marine is not going to stand for it, and before you know it, he's going for his sword.
Oi, knock it off. This isn't an easy situation for anyone involved. I started out on this ship downstairs in the hold where the big man is, but now, you know what? This could be solved a lot easier. What's the problem?
The Marine pulls his sword out of his scabbard,
no.
and he says,
"You don't want to do this. You don't want to do this."
"This is none of your concern, dwarf. What authority do you have over me?"
Uh-oh.
Roll a
Not
quick,
a whole hell of a lot.
roll a charisma
but-
check real quick. DC 10. I know you don't have charisma, but roll it anyway.
Do it for my amusement.
Nat 20s can happen sometimes.
13.
13? Well, you only need a DC 10, so...
Oh.
At the mention of this, Tarin speaks up. He says, "Authority, no, you shouldn't talk to the dwarf like that." And he just rattles off some of the heroic deeds he's seen that you perform on the ship. The way that you valiantly tended to the mutiny without malice, the way that you mercifully spared Warwinek's life, etc., etc. The Marine puts his sword back and looks at you.
Put your steel away.
Adric, perhaps I spoke out of turn. I apologize. But he points at your crewman. Says, "But this man has sullied the name of the House of Dunfoss and the good prince. So we should see him punished."
Probably has never heard of the thing because he's probably not from this world, as am I.
And Tarin says, "Look, all I'm saying is that with one arm, he's not going to do much right by his new princess anyway. That's all I'm saying." And you see the Marine get very angered at this, but he doesn't reach for his sword again. He merely looks at you.
Oi, Tarin, stop being stupid.
He looks at you, Adric. Says, "I know that I couldn't count on honor amongst pirates, but you should see to your own house." And then he turns and stomps up the stairs. And Tarin just looks at you and shrugs and goes about his business.
Okay.
Is that it? Is that where the situation ends?
No, I'm gonna follow after the soldier and say, and then pull him aside and say, "Hey, look, all I'm saying is."
Well, before you can say anything to him, by the time you walk up the stairs, you see the Marine has joined his other, two of the other Marines, along with Prince Humberth, up by the bow of the ship. So anything you say to this Marine, you'd have to speak in the presence of two of his comrades and the Crown Prince.
Okay.
You still go up to him?
Yeah.
And say what?
Totally. Look, man. It's been a very I think that as you have. Okay, I gotta think of what I want to say here real quick. Hang on.
Okay, don't think too long though.
Well, no, I mean, I would have been thinking about this as I was walking up the stairs and up onto the deck of the ship.
And as you approach, they're obviously clearly talking about something. But as you approach, they all stop talking and look at you. So you're looking at the four of them now.
I would think that you might show a little more gratitude to the crew that saved your life.
Who do you say this to?
I don't know. The guy who was shouting out at this guy. The guy that was shouting out at Tarin.
To the Marine? You say this to?
Yeah.
Okay. Humberth is the one who answers. He steps forward between you and the three Marines. And Nodal, you've like cleaned his clothes, right, with your crazy laundry spell.
Nodal probably has.
Absolutely.
Okay. So he
also,
looks.
everyone, basically, if I'm around someone, I love showing off. So I'll basically clean anyone's clothes except for who is the person who was being a dick? The doctor? Yeah, he gets dirty clothes.
So Humber steps between you and the Marines. It's not your hospitality this man takes issue with, but his lack of respect.
Lack of respect? Well, consider that man down there and the rest of the crew of this place, well, our chances of us seeing their loved ones again are probably fairly slim. So I would take what the hell am I trying to say here? No.
That's a good question.
This is literally what Adric would be saying.
Because 5 charisma, yeah. As you're stammering out, Humber turns half to the side, says, "Nyal, how many of your sworn brothers died in the Sahagan attack?" One of the Marines stepped forward and says, 17, sir. 17 men that I'll never see again. All of them had wives, families back in Dunfoss. Then Humber looks back at you for a response.
This is happening on the deck?
This is happening on the bow of the ship, but for all intents and purposes, all you other assholes are busy doing whatever.
Oh, okay.
Zook right now is down below the deck. Just
I was up in the. I thought it'd be up in the crow's nest looking around. But
I figured you'd be down in the hold, dreaming about the treasure on the other side of the door. But
see, I was thinking I was also going to be up in the crow's nest. So I think me and Zook have been hanging out in the crow's nest
and sneaking down to the treasure hold every couple hours. I believe the kids call it snogging.
If I want to go into the treasure hold, man, I'll go into the treasure hold.
Well, in all seriousness, we established that I was acrobatic and I was going to probably be a rigging guy, so I'd probably spend more time above on deck than not.
Well, I'm sorry, your worship, but...
Wait, you call him your worship? Okay.
Yeah, look at it this way. Life happens. People die. People have died out here.
Humber seems to be waiting for you to complete the point. You do not seem to have swayed him by pointing out that people die.
You know what? I see I'm not getting through to you. There ain't no point talking to you. Walk off.
And with that, Humber turns back to the Marines. Where do you go from there?
I'm going back downstairs.
Okay, so you just go back down to the mess?
Yeah.
Alright.
That's where I've been spending most of my off-duty time.
Eldove.
Right.
General malaise amongst the 4 Marines, and Humberth as well. They're not making this openly known to any of the other crew on the ship, but the general consensus is that they will be very happy to put this whole pirate mishap behind them once they reach Qisca.
That seems reasonable.
They don't seem very enthralled by the pirate hospitality. Like, nobody on this ship respects them or their station. There are jokes in the hold about Humberth's missing arm, the lack of agency on the part of the 4 Marines who were not able to save him, etc., etc. Where do you stand on this issue, considering that you were the first one aboard the Flumph and that you actually know the PCs better than these people would?
Have I heard any of the PCs, like anybody who I've actually spent time with, have I heard any of them saying things about the prince and his companions?
Probably not, but that's up to them. So I gotta go let Edgar in, so I'll let them answer while I go get Edgar back inside.
Depending on before or after this altercation that happened with me, I'd say, well, you need to get your buddies to pull the sticks out of their ass.
Zook loves everybody. He's second to Fred in terms of friendliness, so he's pretty down.
No, I got it right here. Adric will ask, is part of that Marine's uniform having the stick up his ass too?
Jesus. Adric making friends as always.
Yeah.
I know.
Who are you asking this of, Eldove or Humberth?
That would be, if it's after that altercation, that's what Adric would be saying to Eldove.
Well, that altercation was kind of just like a lot of these feelings bubbling up over the surface after a week of being at sea. Like, it would have been, like, well, maybe you wouldn't have noticed because you're Adric.
Yeah.
But that's just what you happened upon that day.
Alright, so, I probably, who am I talking to? Am I talking to the prince who is saying that to me, or am I just hearing the crew muttering about the prince and his people.
You actually, you probably don't hear the crew muttering very much at all, because they see you as an outsider. They see you as one of them. So whenever they see you coming, they wouldn't, like, they would clam up and just tip their hats.
They're not being dicks about it?
Right.
Okay. In that case, I probably would just say to the prince, like, listen, I can understand you not wanting to be on the pirate crew, but these people saved your life. They are doing their best to get you where you're going. And once we get there, I fully understand if you never want to see them again.
Oh,
and he nods and he says, agreed. It's best that we don't associate with the likes of these. Once we reach Qisca.
I would just counsel keeping our own counsel about this and not unduly antagonizing the crew, because once we get there, you're going to still be a prince, and these lot will still be pirates.
And he nods and says, I agree with that as well. And he looks over and he gives Goost the stink eye. Goost is the one who had the altercation down in the mess. And he says, and you'd do well to remember that. He says, you are a noble man. You should act like it. Goose looks a little bit sheepish that he had lost his temper with a lout.
Brickard, you appear to be offline.
I'm offline? That's too bad.
Okay.
So sad.
Leave like the stream is offline, or?
Oh, no,
I see the stream is live.
Anyway.
My stream is not... sorry. Go on.
And so that's about the long and the short of it. It takes about 2 weeks from your position out at sea before Qisca is spotted off in the horizon. So let me go ahead and get the map of Qisca here. The crew of the ship, most of them anyway, like, they are very, very excited to finally be putting into shore. Like, that's something they've been looking forward to a long time. Fila seems very much more at ease than she has ever since the deed was done.
Hot coffee.
Hot coffee. Traeger, however, seems more and more apprehensive the closer you get to land. He doesn't say anything to any of you until... This is the map of Qisca, by the way, that I found. Until Qisca is sighted off on the horizon. At that point, Traeger seeks out Orphan.
Okay.
He finds you down in the mess or down in your room. Where do you spend your days on the ship, Orphan?
I used to spend them up on the deck, just like watching the sea.
Okay,
That's kind of a novelty, but that got boring a long time ago. So I spend all my time in the quarters now.
Well, you are expected to work on the ship.
Oh, okay. Let's see.
I mean, if you don't work, that's fine. It's just there's going to be more. We're going to have another couple of scenes that probably need to play out.
Okay. No, I didn't realize. I don't think I was there for that discussion of what do you do about the ship.
Yeah, the ship is greatly understaffed right now, and all the PCs have been expected to work aboard the ship. The only people on the ship.
Excuse me.
What?
I'm expected to work aboard the ship?
No, you're considered a guest aboard the ship. You, Humbers,
Okay.
the Marines. The only other people on the ship who don't work are Fila and Traeger, the old farmer.
Okay. In that case, I have been spending time assisting Arvin with the cooking and medicine.
Okay. So one day you're down in the kitchen alone doing some preparatory work, peeling potatoes or what have you, and Traeger enters, asks if he may have a word.
I motion to a seat or a stool.
And he sits down obligingly. So I was not sure if I can talk to the captain. He's not a very approachable man. So I would ask you, do you know what the captain means to do with me once we put into port?
I don't spend much time with him either, but he seems to enjoy his time. He seems to enjoy his position here aboard the ship. I don't think that he'll be leaving.
That wasn't asking about the captain. I was asking about me. What does he plan to do with me?
Well, I mean,
I'm of no use to him. I should point out as well, because you would all know this by now. Qisca has a very robust slave trade.
Oh, a trade?
Yes.
Okay.
And upon hearing this, he doesn't come right out and say it, but you get the sense that Traeger is worried that Captain Tarin will be selling various members of, non-useful, non-essential members of the crew.
Oh, I see.
I think Brick said slave trade, but his voice hiccuped a little.
Oh, yeah. Did he?
Yeah.
Yes, it's a very robust slave trade.
Okay, yeah, I didn't hear that part. Okay, well, I'll say, the thing about us is, and by I mean those of us who had been held in the brig prior to joining the crew, we'd all like to get home, or as close to home as we can, and none of us were involved with the rituals and the know-how needed to do that. You're the only one. You're the closest one among any of us who has that ability. So I think that of everyone aboard the ship, you have the least to worry about.
He says, well, that may be fine for those of you who have homes, but there's nothing left for me back there. Why would...
Back where?
He's talking about the world that he came from. His story was that him and his family were stricken by famine. They pooled all of their resources, all their life savings together to buy passage aboard this vessel, which was then set upon by the Stygian pirates.
Oh, okay.
So...
Well, I think you slightly misunderstand what I mean. I'm not saying that he's eager to return you to where you came from, but I am saying that your experience and your knowledge will be invaluable to him in getting to where he wants to go.
He looks curious for a moment. Yes, begging your pardon, ma'am, but what knowledge do you speak of? What do you suppose I know that might be of use to the captain? I would make myself useful if but there was a way.
Well, at some point I assume we'll be recovering the emeralds that, what was his name, the necromancer? Did we ever learn it?
His name was Gendrid.
Okay. I assume at some point we'll be recovering the emeralds, or replacing the emeralds that Gendrid used, and then we'll need you to get ourselves back to where we came from.
I tend not to have much truck with magic, but I'll take your word for it, if that's the case. Make a quick charisma check, just DC 10.
Okay.
And what is your goal with the words? Are you trying to put him at ease, or are you lying to him, or do you just want to get him out of your hair?
I'm just trying to point out the truth to him, that, I don't think that he has anything to worry about.
Okay.
Alright, so that's going to be bad. That's a +1, 7.
7? So you try to lay the truth out for him, just as you understand it, and he seems to have a hard time following it. He doesn't really grasp that there are many different worlds and that you're all from different places. He doesn't really seem to understand what that means. But after a few minutes, he politely thanks you for your time, and he gets up and he leaves the kitchen.
Alright.
So this is a map of Qisca, but I actually made a slightly better map that will be more useful to us during the session, I think. Let me get that one out now.
Do you have any other stuff before we get to the city? I was thinking there's a few other things I wanted to do while we're on the ocean.
Like what?
One, I was hoping to have some time to study the scrolls. I think there's an unidentified scroll and a set of unidentified potions we got from the last dungeon.
Oh, okay, yeah. Go ahead and make those rolls for the potions. DC 12, you can use the alchemist kit.
And that's int or just a raw?
Just int plus the alchemist kit. So
okay.
yeah, add your intelligence bonus and add the alchemist kit as well. And I have to actually look up the scroll here, which I will do.
That would be a natural one.
A natural one?
Yep.
Lovely.
So wait, how many potions were there?
There were 6.
There were 6. Okay, I got it. And you found all of these in the ice dungeon, right?
Yes, the description is that they're in, I believe, crystal vials that are cold to the touch.
Oh, those potions. Okay.
Crystal
so yeah,
jars.
These are potions of pants on your head.
let's roleplay that out because this will be a lot of fun.
Oh lord. Oh god.
So you sit down with all of your alchemy equipment, your potions and your tinctures and your herbs and little boiling kits and what have you, and you take one of these ice cold potions and you pop the cork off the top. And immediately the room becomes ice cold. Every surface of the room frosts over, and a loud streak comes out of the vial. A loud white cold streak. Door open or cloosed?
Door's usually closed when I'm doing this kind of work.
Door's closed, and it's a few seconds before you realize what happens. You hear a loud wind, and everything flutters around the room, and it knocks books over, and but a huge wind came up out of this vial, and you swear you hear laughter, but eventually the frost and the mist and the fog sweep out of one of the portholes in the side of the room, and it just leaves you in this dense, blinding fog, just like what was aboard the ship when you were fighting the Sahagin. And as you're holding the vial in your one hand and the cork in the other, the vial no longer feels cold. Your hand warms it up very quickly, and then within a minute, the fog in the room subsides and seeps out of the portholes, and there you are with 4 more of these icy vials sitting on the desk.
I just changed to 4 crystal jars.
Okay. That's right, because they were jar-shaped. They were round. They were actually jars, not vials. But so yeah, that's what happens with the first one.
All right.
Would you like to roll again?
No, I think I'll just use ID that.
Everybody else outside on the vessel, you hear this loud, like, whooshing sound from the front of the ship, where the Necromancer's quarter is. Like a great wind has erupted in there, and then you see this fog and mist, this white streak shoot out of one of the portholes, swirls up into the air off into the distance over the horizon, and then over the course of the next few minutes, a cold mist seeps out of the windows and below the cracks of the door.
I knock on the door to the alchemist chamber.
There's a knock on the door, Tarin.
I'm gonna be right there with him.
Okay.
I would be there too, as a matter of fact.
I'll be there too.
We're all on deck usually.
And I mean, this is loud. Even if you're not on the deck, you still would have heard this enormous, like, tornado sound. Nothing is damaged. Nothing is broken in the room. But, Tarin, you're the only... You swear to God you heard laughter as soon as you opened the vial. Like a and then everything was very cold and very loud and very windy. And then, after that, very still.
Enter.
And you enter the room, and there's still this light mist, this very cold mist still hanging in the air. Very, very similar to the fog you experienced when the Sahagin attacked.
Captain Tarin, did you open one of the horrible fog vials?
Are you telling me you knew this was a horrible fog vial?
I thought we all knew they were horrible fog vials.
I was trying to figure out what it was.
So it's not Gendrit? He's not back?
No, Gendrid's nowhere.
Oh.
No.
Oh, then Orphan just shrugs and leaves.
Okay.
Okay.
No, they still have Morwen axe down in the hold of the ship.
The alchemist lab to the Giggle Dungeon now.
Well, you didn't hear the laughter.
Aldove,
Only Tarin heard the laughter.
Look, Eldove, I know I didn't exactly have the best grades in wizarding school, but I don't really know where I was going with that conversation.
I'm a sorcerer.
Anyway,
I didn't have any grades in wizarding school.
So right. I mean,
it was a pass-fail.
They were cold vials inside the ice dungeon after we experienced horrible mist.
I thought they could be potions of, like, fire resistance or something.
Maybe you should try drinking it next time.
I think... Zook, alright, here. Zook, you take one of these. Orphan, you take one.
Orphan left.
I'm not even there.
Orphan Turner left.
Okay, well, I'm gonna... Zook, Orphan, Eldove, you have enough magic on your own. I'll take one. And, what's McDohl's character's name?
Adric.
Adric.
Zook immediately sees the potential of this as a makeshift magic smoke bomb.
And I'll explain what they do. Would they work in, say, do monks still get slings in 5e?
I don't know.
Just darts now.
No, but I could throw the damn thing.
I mean, you can just throw the damn thing, yeah. So I'll divide these up among the party.
Okay.
See, now that sounds like an excellent idea.
We're gonna use ID the shit out of these later.
You know, that's pretty much what he just did.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping if you throw it and it shatters, it'll do the same thing. I'm not sure on that. It's just a guess.
Oh, before we disembark, I have no potions of healing. Do we have any left to go around, or are we low on those?
That's up to Tarin.
We had... Let me look in the party loot here.
By the time you get back...
Just so we're clear here, you shouldn't go pointing that trident at anyone and saying random words, either.
Now, well, you know what? I'm not going to tell you the interesting thing, Tarin, because you botched the roll, so I'm not telling you shit. Never mind.
Okay.
So...
We had spoken briefly about dragon swears last session.
Absolutely.
Can we assume that Zook learned a couple of those? Because he was very interested.
That's fine.
I am willing to talk to anybody about my draconic heritage, including dragon swears, as will listen to me, and for some time after they're not.
I now know all the Draconish I know is now basically just swears, and I will make use of those at some point, I'm sure.
Fantastic.
All right, so
that's what we've been doing.
There's the scroll in the watertight case. You pull the scroll out of the case. It's written in common, so you can read it.
Okay.
Let me look and see at your spell list real quick. I don't think this scroll will ever come into play. It was randomly generated, but we'll find out. You guys might find something cool to do with it.
I just added dragon swears to my languages.
Of course you did.
Next time.
Yes,
I
Tarin.
know we mentioned...
Immediately upon reading the scroll, this is a scroll of illusory script. That's level 1 Warlock spell. You can use this with no penalty whatsoever.
Okay, I'll just put that in my gear then. I'll just immediately scroll case that.
Okay.
I know we mentioned that I said swears against ice dragons when I was talking to the asshole in the hold last session. I just want to be very clear, I did not tell you any draconic swears against fire dragons.
Okay. Anything else?
Yes, there's one other thing. Just let me finish doing the inventory management here. And then I wanted to go and talk to Warwinax, and if anyone wants to come with me, I'll let the group know.
I'll go with you.
I don't care.
I'm gonna do like I normally do and go, but I'm hiding in a corner well out of the range of his breath.
Now, Orphan.
Adric?
Orphan is lawful neutral, right?
Party stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
lawful neutral.
Well, you've heard from Humberth and or Eldove and or the Marines that slavery is very much legal in Qisca.
All right.
And you've also learned, this wasn't clear because you were here last session, but Warwinax is the only Dragonborn that anybody from this world has ever seen. As far as you know, Dragonborn are either common or uncommon where you come from, but they're not unheard of. In this world on Trennis, Warwinax is unique as far as anybody can tell.
Okay.
So you guys go down to talk to Warwinax, and he's in there. And as soon as he senses that Adric's not alone in the room, his head snaps up to them, and you see the cold white smoke blowing up out of his nostrils again.
I'm sorry, I just have a quick question that's not related to this. What was, like, game-wise, what was Nick's character doing while we were doing things last week?
He didn't exist. If you're not here, you pop in and out of existence, and we just don't even talk about it. Yeah. So there is no explanation for why Orphan wasn't here. As far as this session's concerned, Orphan. No, there's no in-character reason. We don't need to worry about that. Because I don't want to play his character when he's not here, and I don't want to deal with coming up with a thematic reason why he wasn't. So we're just not.
Can we just say he was there with us then?
No, because that wasn't true either. So
yeah,
okay.
It's just characters pop in and out of memory depending on who actually shows up for the play session.
All right.
So
I was just trying to figure out whether I give a shit about Nick's character or not.
What's Eldove's disposition towards Tieflings?
That's something I'm curious about. Like, I wasn't there during the last session, but in the time between the last session and now, have you ever bothered to come down to talk to me?
Have you ever made any attempt to talk to me?
I probably did, just because you're a new face, and I'm curious about new people.
I'll talk to people who are willing to talk to me, Cher.
Okay.
But I didn't make any attempt to seek you out, if that's what you're asking.
Are Tieflings known in this world?
Yes.
Okay.
They're greatly mistrusted.
I would have asked any things about your homeland, because you weren't there last week, but my character is the way they're trying to repair their noble fortunes is through other race trade.
Oh, okay.
Because I would have been trying to get any information about that out of you as I could.
But just to speak to that for a moment, Tieflings, you wouldn't have a race trade with Tieflings. Tieflings are definitely a race, but they don't have like communities the way that other races do. There's no real to trade with Tieflings exclusively.
Yeah.
You could.
Besides which, I'm the only Tiefling I know.
Right. Now, Orphan has heard from Fred especially, that there are other Tieflings in this world. But you haven't seen any since you've been here. So,
right.
But yeah, there's not like a Tiefling city where they actually make things and export them. There's no sense of that. Usually, where you're from, Eldove, Tieflings, if anything, would have like a small community inside of a larger city, probably in the lower income section of town. They're known to you to be outcasts. Many people are superstitious of them. People treat them as part demons, essentially.
Hey man, if someone's part demon, that sounds like something that I could take something that they make and sell it.
Okay. So your general disposition towards Tieflings as a race is rosy, then, we'll say.
I'm willing to be rosy towards pretty much anything that I think they can make me money.
Okay, so Warwanax, then.
So, before, can one of you guys link in the mumble the party loot document?
You should have it shared on your Google Docs.
I did look on Google. I looked on Google Drive and I don't see it.
Click. You gotta click the shared tab.
Yeah.
Shared with me. Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have not been policing that party loot at all. I'm just been taking Destil's word for it, basically. So you guys are down talking to Warwanax.
Good job.
And just like every time you guys have been down, if it's anybody other than Adric, or Adric plus other people, you see the smoke rising up out of his nostrils.
Do we really have to go through this Warwanax? You know, we'll just beat you again.
Yeah, I'm feeling much less sleepy this time.
Okay, hold on. We clearly we're not done with the boat yet. Let me get the boat back.
Yeah.
Clearly something is about to go down. So let's get the boat back out.
Positions, people.
No, I'm not untying him. I'm just trying to talk to him.
Oh, clearly we're gonna place everybody on the map here in a second. So
I really like the idea that we just ruin every single session Brickroad has by talking to Warwanax.
this guy was not supposed to survive past the first session. He was supposed to be like.
I think we should bring this bitch to level 20.
just bring him experience every now and then. Just
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Here's a box of experience. Why don't you just tear into that for a little while, dude?
Okay,
Yeah.
so we've got Warwanax back in his regular spot. Everybody else, place your marker where you're going to be standing.
I'm in the barrels, staying out of range.
Okay, I see you there.
I'm standing where I normally stand. Where am I?
A little bit further up, so I'm still not in the cone, I would hope.
I'm gonna stick with my staircase out of range.
Okay.
You guys are in a different room, so you should be fine.
Yeah.
And then Tarin is right there. Okay. So you said to him, do we really have to go through that? He doesn't respond. He just starts breathing heavy. You see the smoke coming up out of his nostrils. And his head is going back and forth between you and Adric in the room. He doesn't seem to sense that there's anybody else there besides the two of you. Because there's
You know we're not in your world anymore, right? We're not in any of our worlds. Your father's mountains to the north, not a thing. From my understanding, to the north is like a weird boundary between rock and sand that I don't exactly know how it works cosmologically, and that worries and excites me.
He just continues to breathe heavily. He's hearing you. He definitely hears you. He's just not responding. He doesn't think anything you're saying is worth a response.
Well, we're pulling into port soon. I don't really know what to do with you. I'd be well in my right to just execute you in all honesty, and it sounds like I could sell you into slavery, though honestly, keeping you here tied up like this
you
is
mentioned
bad
that
enough
next to Adric, and I'm like, Adric's standing there, and I'm like, no.
Well, when he mentions what?
I'll
Execution or slavery?
The latter, no.
I'll mind link you. I wouldn't do that. It really upsets me.
Warwanax speaks up.
You would probably not have a head.
Warwanax speaks up at the mention of execution.
Yeah.
He says, I will take it honorably and gladly, if you were but brave enough to carry it out. But we all know that you're a coward, as well as the monk. He looks over it. Or not, as well as the dwarf, rather. He doesn't care that you're a monk. So if either of you had the stones for it, you would have done it by now. You would rather strip me of my honor and my disposition, my brave lineage, keep me in bondage. At that,
I would think that I would have knocked some sense into you.
He lifts his head and bares his neck to you. He says, go, do it. Have it done. I've made my peace. Tonight I dine in the halls of my fathers.
I'm gonna do a quick mind link conversation with Adric here while he's saying this.
Okay.
I mean, there's, from my experience, there's some people crazy enough to actually think that, you know, it's more important to do this crazy shit than actually be alive.
I haven't been able to get into his head. You've been able to get into his head better than I could, so I don't even know why you're asking me about this guy.
I mean, you're the one that made us save his life.
And after a few seconds of what Warwanax perceives as silence, he puts his head back down and says, "I thought not." And he continues to breathe very heavily.
Well, at any rate, personally, my decision is to find a place for you in whatever the city is. Probably not the Slavers Guild, but I don't know. Depends on how much we need to prepare the ship. I think there's some beams in here that have a lot of frost damage. I'll just turn around.
Alright.
If I get any response from him on the way out.
Nothing. He says nothing.
Alright.
What about you, Adric? Just standing there, staring lovingly into his destroyed eyes.
I'm trying to think, because Adric is really torn, because he thought that just beating someone in a fair fight would be enough to get them to see that, hey, maybe this isn't so bad, you know. But apparently this guy just has, like, Adric's pretty much done with him at this point.
Roll a wisdom check. Since if that's the way you're approaching it, roll a wisdom check.
Is Adric an anime hero?
A little bit, yeah. Well, he's a dwarf, and anime doesn't allow dwarves. You can't be anime and a dwarf.
Well, unless this is Lotus War, 11.
11?
Yeah.
You try to rationalize it like that. Like, you beat him in a fair fight. He should respect your strength now. But, knowing the Dragonborn that you've known, most of which were combatants, most of which were very proud people, many of the Dragonborn you've known, once they're beaten in a fair fight, they expect death. Their take on it is, you have proven yourself to be the stronger, and now you are simply dishonoring him by keeping him chained up in your hold as a trophy to be sold off. So that's the idea you get just from your previous encounters with Dragonborn. Now, how that actually relates to Warwanax, who is very unlike most Dragonborn that you've met, you have no idea. But rationalizing it as a dwarf, that's how you would imagine most Dragonborn would see it.
I got it. One last fight between you and I.
Oh God.
He perks up. He says, "That would hardly be
In
a
the
fair
arena.
fight. You still have your eyes."
I think we can manage that.
Manage
That
what?
could
To
be
return
easy.
my eyes?
No. I'll fight blind.
Where is this bout to take place?
There is an arena in the city that we're pulling into port at.
Have you inquired about the nature of this arena at all? I guess Eldove would probably be the most knowledgeable of it.
No, I haven't.
Okay. Just making sure. He says, "Unbind me now. Let's have done with it."
You want it done now. That's fair, but
But you are an unfair man, and a coward to boot. Like all of your kind, from down in the holes beneath the mountains. I've known you before, bearded one.
Dragon racism is the saddest form of racism.
it is. It really is.
Just know this, though. If you do unbind me, and I win, I will kill everyone aboard this ship, take it, and sail it north.
That's why I said we're not doing it on the ship. We're gonna do it in the arena.
There's no such thing as north here.
Yells Zook from the storage room behind you.
And first of all, you'll kill him, and then I'll put you to sleep, and then I'll tip you off the frickin' boat.
Says, "The cowardly elfling has more honor than you do. Not by much."
That's
What do
my
you?
offer. Take it or leave it.
You're in no position to offer me anything, and I'm in no position to accept. You have my terms, I have yours. Do what you will. But we both know that you won't do what needs to be done. Are we finished here?
All right. All right. All right. All right.
All right, what?
Fuck.
With that, he lunges forward to the extent of his chains, which are still binding his wrist behind him, and he snaps at you with his dragonborn head.
Punch?
Snarling. Punch him. And you sock him a good one, and he retreats back to the hold. Still breathing very deeply.
You have a day to reconsider my offer. If not, then we do it your way. Walk out.
Bar the door back up.
Tarin's still in the hold, right?
Where did
No,
Tarin
he's
go?
already left. He went back. He's back on the deck.
So he went back to the deck. Okay. So yeah, it's just
Okay.
the four of you were in the hold.
So I'm standing outside the door listening, and when he leaves, I ask Tarin, "So, what did you decide?"
I haven't made up my mind. Are we outside of where Warnax can see?
Yeah, Adric. Well, you guys are back up on the deck, so Warrenax can't see or
Okay.
hear you anyway. Also, he doesn't have eyes,
yeah.
so
Right.
Yeah.
I haven't really made up my mind yet. I have to figure out what's going on in the city. Honestly, if it were up to me, I don't feel like I can in good conscience just let him wander free. He's not exactly the sort of person you can trust not to be an insane murderer.
oh, what makes you say that?
The fact that he's an insane murderer. Like, I feel bad enough just keeping him tied up down here, and I'm half tempted to take him up on his insane offer just to cut his throat, but I don't know. I'd figure something out once I get a better feel for the city when we get there.
I gave him my offer. I've given him 24 hours.
So Tarin,
you know-
more importantly, do you
you know
think
Tarin.
that oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So more importantly, Tarin, do you think Adric can take him? Because I know a guy. I can get you two into the arena.
Really?
Do you actually know a guy?
Tarin,
I will spend this banana and say I know a guy.
All right. He's cashing in his banana.
Well,
Nope. Silence for a moment. Give me a second. Give me a second. I actually planned for this contingency. Give me 1 second to do a little bit of research in my notes here.
What are the standard shares and the profits if we can get like a sold-out arena match? I'm asking that to Eldove.
Typically, the fighter themselves takes 10%. Anybody, their manager takes, the winning manager rather takes 20%. The losing manager gets 10%.
None of this is true.
And the
Eldove
arena
is
gets
making
the
all
rest.
this up. Here's kind of how it works based on what you know, Eldove. Now, first of all, I'm going to explain who your contact is.
Okay.
Qisca is governed by a series of guilds. There's something like 60 guilds that governs the town and the surrounding lands, and these guilds each get a single vote in pretty much anything that happens inside the city. Now, some of these guilds are not guilds per se, but rather just ancient noble houses. And one of these ancient noble houses is House Nibiri, and House Nibiri is extremely wealthy. It's the most powerful of the noble houses in Qisca because of it has basically stranglehold on all kinds of trade. It controls several of the guilds related to trade in and out of Qisca, and one of the guilds that it controls is the Glory of Bast, who is in charge of running the Grand Arena. So your contact, some person you're on very, very good terms with in Qisca, both on previous journeys to the city and in correspondence and trade back and forth with Dunfoss, you are in contact with a man named Tal Marthad. Tal is a title, meaning he's the head of the House Nibiri. Tal Marthad is not actually in charge of any particular guild, but he is the patriarch of House Nibiri. And his son and heir, his name is Ions. He is the All of the Glory of Bast. He is a religious leader who gives glory to the god of war in Qisca, and the god of war oversees the grand arena. So he's in charge of the... he's got some pull in who shows up in the arena and why and when. So, because you spent your banana, you could very easily arrange an exhibition match in the arena, especially considering you've got the only Dragonborn in the world. So this would be very easy for you. It would have been very difficult had you not spent a banana, but there you go. This will be fun.
Yeah, I'll start. I mean, Tarin has no problem both doing this and also taking advantage of any profits that would be arranged from it.
As far as profits go, the way the arena works, just in very general, is a fighter would have a patron, and the split, like if the fighter wins the purse or whatever, the arena takes a split, the patron takes a split. That's determined by the actual nature of the fight, if there's a tournament going on or whatever. But whether or not the fighter gets anything is totally up to the patron. Because, again, there's slavery here, so a lot of these fighters they're just owned. They're not expected to receive anything.
Right, I'll obviously be Warwinax's patron.
Okay, so the way that Eldove explains to you this will work...
against me, you asshole.
I think he's the patron of both of you.
Yeah, once he gets into Qisca, what you would do, Eldove, is contact all Ions and explain to him, hey, we want to have an exhibition match. These are the two people. The captain of the vessel is going to be the patron. He's going to put up the money for the fight, etc., and then negotiate from there.
Like I was saying, Patreon.
Look, Adrian, here's the deal. I can't guarantee anything with Warwinax. In order to have even a minimal amount of control over him to make sure that the situation doesn't go completely tits up immediately, I'm going to present him as a slave I own. Assuming I don't have to finagle too much stuff for that.
Because first of all, there would be no paperwork filed in Qisca. Slavery exists in Qisca, but one of the guilds is the Guild of Slaves' Rights. You're not allowed to beat slaves, you're not allowed to kill them. They're considered more people than property, and in fact, slavery is not necessarily for life. People who are born into slavery don't necessarily stay there forever. Some people draft contracts of slavery where they serve a particular house or function for X number of years, after which they receive a stipend and are released. So
it's kind of Roman slavery, okay.
Right.
That sounds like my guild training.
There's no paperwork filed in Qisca for Warwinax, and he's not branded as your slave.
Huh.
And this is all information that Eldove can tell you.
Brand. Okay.
Do we have any rights as someone who took him in battle?
You could claim that in Qisca, and they probably would not put up much of a fuss about it.
Alright. Also, I'm going to talk this out with the captain, but I'm going to expect a finder's fee as someone who's putting this contact together.
Well, naturally.
Naturally? Okay.
Assuming this fight happens, Zook is going to work the crowd to try to get a profit out of some side bets by any means necessary.
Alright, well, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Okay.
This is very interesting. Already we're way off script. So, the first thing we have to, I'm just going to go over Qisca Road. This is information that Eldove you would have. Qisca is broken up into the wards that you see here. Hopefully they're pretty self-explanatory, but, for example, you have Low Harbor here. This is where all the riffraff would dock. This is where new ships are built. Down here you have High Harbor. This is for wealthy merchants, nobility, royals. It's also much, much more expensive to pool and maintain a ship here. And of course, Humberth is insisting that this is where you go.
Oh, of course he is.
Well, he had 3 ships originally. Are they already paid up for berthing?
No. And no, this is a cost that you, as the captain of the friendly Flumph, would have to absorb. Like, if Humberth if he weren't penniless at the moment, he might consider it, but he might also just consider, you're the captain of the vessel, this is your responsibility, and as befitting of his station as the prince, your responsibility is to see that he gets the reception that he deserves.
Yeah, I'm not against trying to make sure Humberth thinks that he owes me a favor, so...
No, let's be very clear, he doesn't think he owes you a favor. As far as he's concerned, he's going to give you recompense, you and your men, recompense of monetary value once he returns to Dunfoss, and then that is the end of his dealings with you.
Okay.
This is not
put on his tab.
This is not a man for who he will owe anybody favors.
I have a question, though.
Sure.
Is this something that I would know in character whether or not he actually intends to pay?
Humberth, you mean?
Yeah.
Humberth lawful good. You have every you have every reason to believe that yes, once he returns to Dunfoss and he is in control of finances again, he will make good his word. But he's also the kind of man that if a week later down the road the friendly Flumph is caught in Dunfoss waters engaging in acts of piracy, the whole crew will be brought to land, put to death. So Humberth will keep his word to the best of his ability.
Right arm before he'd break his word.
Damn. Somebody quick, spend a banana to say that Zook said that out loud. No.
No. I'm sorry.
Sorry. I'll be good.
So you have every reason to believe that, yes, Humberth will keep his word, but he will not consider himself to be in debt to these pirates at all.
Alright.
So you dock at the High Harbor. This kind of run-down, painted black and red pirate vessel with a giant friendly Flumph on the flag, on the end of the sail. Pull up to a dock. They're going to charge you 350 gold pieces to berth the ship in High Harbor for each day that you're here. So it's 350 up front.
Let me put these in my notes in the ship.
A train comes down from the palace here. There's actually a switchback stair that comes right down into High Harbor. So where the Flumph is docked, emissaries from the palace come down. People in Qisca have they're bronzed skin. Most of them have straight black hair. You're in the desert at this point. You're in the greenest part of Romneus, but you're still in the desert. So people are dressed accordingly. People come down, emissaries from the palace, to greet Prince Humberth and his entourage. And immediately, everybody who is with the prince when they arrive, immediately you see the concern on their face that he is missing a limb. Only pleasantries are exchanged down at the dock, and the prince and his 4 marines begin climbing the switchback stair up to the palace. Eldove, do you intend to go with them?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Okay. Does anybody else intend to go with them?
Nah.
No?
Tarin will.
Tarin will, okay. Tarin, who did you put in charge of the ship at the moment? Like, who's in charge of resupplying, getting repairs done, etc., etc.?
Arvis is.
You're putting Arvin in charge?
Yeah.
You try to put Arvin in charge, and he explains that this is not his area of expertise, and he suggests either Balin or Swent's.
Alright, I'll put Swent in charge then.
You go to Swent's.
In charge.
But when you go to Swent, he seems very distracted, and he has the past week or so at sea. You talk to him for about 20 seconds before he realizes you're even there, and he looks at you and says, "Sorry, Captain, my head was somewhere else." Yes, I'll see to it. I'll see it done.
I have a question. If I wanted to go with the prince and Tarin, would they accept that?
Did you try?
Okay, yeah. I'm going to ask him if it's alright if I come.
The emissaries of the palace regard you and Tarin. Humber says, "These noble people helped me at sea. There was a catastrophe, and I am alive today because of the bravery of this man," he gestures to Tarin, "and his companions," and he gestures to Orphan. And at that, the palace emissary takes that at face value. They seem to be... Okay. How are you dressed, Tarin? Are you dressed in your noble's clothes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tarin likes bold colors, simple.
Yeah, in that case, you fall right into place. And at the word of the prince, Orphan, you're welcome to join the entourage as well.
Okay, I'll come along.
Roll me wisdom check, DC 10.
Both of us?
No,
All of us?
just Orphan. Orphan alone. You know what, Tarin? You can make the roll too, DC 15. Eldove, you can put your hand down my pants because you don't get any kind of check.
Alright, so that's a, what is that, a 9?
I got a 3.
You got a 9, you got a 3. Okay, so no, you're both welcome to go along with the entourage. And they climb up the switchback stair, and you get to the top, and there is a great brass gate along one of the walls here of the palace, kept heavily guarded and barred from the inside because it opens out into the docks. And at the arrival, they call up to the wall. They open the gate for you, and you go inside the luxurious palace gardens.